Someone dropped a comment on a Linux video claiming his mate bricked 3 computers messing with Linux, and that nobody on Linux plays alt except decade-old indie games. So I'm going to address every single claim in that comment, show you exactly what's running on Linux right now by going through Steam's top 100 most played games, and then explain why games that don't work on Linux might actually be ones you shouldn't want anywhere near your system in the first place. Alright, you lot. Let's start with this claim about bricking 3 computers, because I need to be straight with you on this one. He said his friend bricked 3 machines trying to hack away through various Linux distros. And yeah, you can brick a computer messing about with Linux. If you're running terminal commands you found on some forum from 2012 without understanding what they do, you can corrupt UKUI variables that stop your motherboard from even posting. Your operating system talks to your voltage regulators through ACPI. It can trigger firmware updates. And if you're hacking your way at system level configs without knowing what you're touching, bad things can happen. That's not scaremongering, that's fact. But here's what that commenter and his friend need to understand, because this is where argument completely falls apart. Every single one of those risks applies equally to Windows. You can brick a machine interrupting a Windows firmware update. You can destroy hardware with dodgy overclocking software on Windows. You can wipe UKUI variables with admin level commands on Windows. If you sit down at any computer on any operating system and start blindly running commands you don't understand with elevated privileges, it can cause serious and potentially irreversible damage. That's not a Linux problem, that's a knowledge problem. And nobody in their right mind would say, don't use Windows because my mate broke 3 PCs running random PowerShell scripts you found on Reddit. And here's where his argument really crumbles. He's talking about Linux like it's still 2005, where you had to compile your own kernel and hand-edit config files just to get a desktop running. In 2026, installing Linux Mint or Ubuntu or Fedora is a graphical installer you click through in 15 minutes. It's genuinely easier than installing Windows, because you don't get bombarded with 20 screens of telemetry opt-outs, forced Microsoft account creation, and Copilot trying to crawl into every corner of your system before you even reach the desktop. His friend wasn't bricking computers because Linux is dangerous. You were bricking computers because you were doing things she didn't understand on an operating system she hadn't learned to use yet. And that's a fair criticism at learning curve, I'll give him that. But calling Linux dangerous because someone got hurt running before they could walk is like saying driving's impossible because your mate crashed 3 times without taking a lesson. And it's that narrative, that fear, that keeps people trapped on an operating system that's actively working against their interests. Which brings me to what he started comment saying. He asked what games are these players playing? Like Linux gamers are sat there in a dungeon running NetArch on a terminal from 1997. So let's answer that properly. I pulled up SteamDB's current top 100 most played games by concurrent players at time of recording and cross-reference every single one against ProtonDB and Gaming on Linux's anti-cheat compatibility tracker. Not vibes, not Reddit arguments, not what someone's mate reckons, actual verified data. Here's what I found. Starting from number 1, Counter-Strike 2. Over 1 million concurrent players. Runs natively on Linux. Dota 2, native. Slate Spire 2, native. Crimson Desert, just launched. Already running through Proton. Rust works through Proton with easy anti-cheat. Delta Force works through Proton. GTA 5 Legacy single player works. Stardew Valley, native. War Thunder, native. Path of Exile works through Proton. Arc Raiders works through Proton with EAC enabled. Geometry Dash, native. Limbus Company works. Warframe works through Proton with EAC. Fortress 2's native. Terraria, native. Hearts of Iron 4, native. Marvel Rivals works through Proton. Helldivers 2 works through Proton. Overwatch works through Proton. Dead by Daylight works with EAC. Deadlock, that's Valve's new game. Native on Linux. Don't Starve Together, native. Death Stranding 2 just launched. Works through Proton with a couple of tweaks. VRChat works. T-Mod Loader, native. Euro Truck Simulator 2, native. And I'm not even halfway through this list yet. Civ 6, native. Baldur's Gate 3, native Linux port. DayZ works through Proton with Battleline enabled. Resident Evil Requiem works through Proton and were actually benchmarked at 145 FPS on Linux compared to 129 on Windows 11. Linux ran it faster. Palworld works through Proton. Red Dead Redemption 2 works. Cyberpunk 2077 works. Steam Deck verified. Street Fighter 6 works. Elden Ring works. Football Manager 26 as native. RimWorld native. Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord native. Monster Hunter Wilds works. Project Zomboid native. Elden Ring Night Rain works. Farming Simulator 25 works. Satisfactory native. Monster Hunter Stories 3 works. Hunt Showdown 1896 works with EAC. Ark Survival Evolved native. 7 Days to Die native. Mugenics works. Gary's Mod native. It Takes 2 works. Left 4 Dead 2 native. Sims 4 works. Black Desert works. BeamNG Drive works. Total War Warhammer 3 native. Payday 2 native. Crusader Kings 3 native. Sons of Forest works. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 works. Resident Evil 4 works. Deck verified. Binding of Isaac native. Ready or Not works. Forza Horizon 5 works. Valheim native. Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel works. Skyrim Special Edition works. Black Myth Wukong works. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition works. Factorio native. I counted it up. Out of SteamDB's current top 100 most played games, over 80 of them work on Linux right now. Not decade-old indie projects, not obscure titles nobody's heard of. These aren't fringe experiences. These are biggest, most popular games on PC. So what don't work? Here's your blocked list. Pay attention to who's responsible. PUBG. Second most played game on Steam, blocked cause publisher and enabled BattleLife for Proton. A toggle that's been available since 2021. Apex Legends. EA actively removed Linux support in October 2024. That previously worked fine. Rainbow Six Siege. Ubisoft refuses to enable BattleLife for Proton, despite technology being sat there ready to go. EA Sports FC 26. Blocked by EA's Javelin Kernel-Level anti-cheat. Call of Duty and Call of Duty Modern Warfare, both blocked by Activision's Ricochet. Battlefield 6, same EA Javelin bollocks that requires secure boot and TPM 2.0. Marathon, Bungie chose Kernel-Level BattleEye without Proton opt-in, same as Destiny 2. See a pattern? It's EA, Activision, Ubisoft and Bungie. Same names every time. Not one of those games is blocked because Linux can't run it. Every single one is blocked because the publisher made a deliberate choice to lock you out. And here's my absolute favourite bit of hypocrisy in this whole saga. Fortnite don't work on Linux. One of the biggest games in the world completely blocked. Now who makes Fortnite? Epic Games. And who owns Easy Anti-Cheat? Epic publicly announced they built Linux and Proton compatibility into their own anti-cheat system. They made it available to every developer on planet Earth. Games all over that top 100 list are running on Linux right now, with Epic's own anti-cheat tool supporting it. Warframe, Art Raiders, Helldivers 2, Dead by Daylight, Hunt Showdown, NBA 2K26, all using EAC, all working on Linux. But Epic's own game? Their flagship product? Nah, can't be asked. Company that built a bridge for everyone else refuses to walk across it themselves. And it gets better. Because Fortnite's not blocked by Easy Anti-Cheat. It's not a technical limitation. Epic just chose not to. Let that sink in for a second, because it tells you everything you need to know about where resistance to Linux gaming actually comes from. It's not technical. It's not about cheating. It's not about compatibility. Political. But I'm going to flip this whole conversation here, because most people frame Linux gaming as, what can't you play? When the real question is, what are you being forced to accept just to play these games on Windows? An answer to that should genuinely concern you. So let's look at Kernel-Level anti-cheat. Because publishers throw the term around like it's just another feature checkbox and most people don't blink. Your operating system's kernel is deepest, most privileged layer of your entire computer. It controls memory allocation, hardware access, process scheduling, everything. When software runs at kernel level, it has same access privileges as your operating system itself. It can see everything, read everything, modify everything. It's not running alongside your system. It is your system at that point. EA's Javelin anti-cheat blocks Battlefield 6 and EA Sports FC from Linux because it requires Secure Boot and TPM 2.0. That means it's not just burrowed into your kernel, it's demanding control of your machine's entire boot chain from firmware level upward. Activision's Ricochet loads a kernel driver that runs from the moment you launch Call of Duty until you restart your machine. Riot's Vanguard for Valorant starts at system boot before you even open the game and stays resident in kernel memory until you shut your PC down completely. And here's what makes it even more insulting. Windows 11 has a security feature called Kernel Mode Hardware Enforced Stack Protection. It's specifically designed to protect your system against kernel-level exploits and malware. It's there to keep you safe. But Easy Anti-Cheat, built by Epic Games, is incompatible with it. To play any game that uses EAC on Windows, you have to disable that protection entirely. Some users have even reported they can't turn it back on afterwards without completely uninstalling every game that uses EAC from their system. So your anti-cheat software is literally forcing you to make your Windows machine less secure in order to function. On Linux, that same EAC runs in user space mode through Proton without ever touching your kernel. Safer by design, but they won't let you use it for Fortnite. So when this commentary claims many years of anti-cheat coding that decides Linux is cheating and won't run, now mate, that anti-cheat coding is surveillance software with full system access that publishers pinky promise they're only using to catch cheaters. And does it work? Does it fuck? PUBG banned nearly 8 million accounts for cheating in 2025 alone. 8 million! All on Windows. All with kernel-level anti-cheat running. Call of Duty's Ricochet has been a revolving door of bypasses since day one. Valorant's Vanguard has had multiple documented vulnerabilities that security researchers flagged as potential attack vectors. You're handing over root access to your machine to software made by companies whose primary expertise is selling you battle passes and getting absolutely no in return except a false sense of security and a platform that blocks you from choosing your own operating system. Meanwhile, Counter-Strike 2, most played game on Steam by a landslide, runs natively on Linux with VAC, a user-level anti-cheat that doesn't need to bury itself in your kernel to function. Overwatch runs on Linux through Proton using Blizzard's Defense Matrix. Helldivers 2 uses mProtect GameGuard and works on Linux. Ark Raiders uses Easy Anti-Cheat, user space mode on Linux. These games prove you don't need kernel-level access to run competitive multiplayer with anti-cheat protection. Companies that demand it are choosing invasiveness over innovation because it's cheaper and easier than building something that actually works. So when someone asks me what you're missing on Linux, I'll tell you what I'm missing. I'm missing kernel-level surveillance software from corporations I don't trust. I'm missing rootkits disguised as anti-cheat that have documented security vulnerabilities. I'm missing a boot chain controlled by a game's publisher instead of by me. And I'm missing a handful of live service cash grabs from publishers whose entire business model is designed to extract maximum spend from minimum content. That's not sacrifice, that's a filter. Linux isn't limiting what I can play, it's protecting me from what I shouldn't have to tolerate. And look, I'm not standing here preaching at you from some theoretical pedestal. I made this switch myself. Following comments on those last two Linux videos, the Lord here kept saying CachyOS, CachyOS, CachyOS. So I thought, right, sorry, let's give it a go. Went with KDE Plasma. Though there's quite a few other versions of CachyOS depending on what you're after. And I've tinkered with it enough now that I can play Fortnite on it. Yeah, you heard that right. Fortnite on Linux. Through Luna and Game Pass cloud streaming. Sure, my Game Pass runs out in October, but I'll still have Luna through my Prime subscription. And on that, I can play all my purchased Ubisoft, EA and GOG games. I've got system specs and fibre connection that handles cloud gaming without breaking a sweat. And naturally, all my GOG games are accessible anyway, because I've got installers stored on a local server at home where my son can use them as well. I've got Heroic Launcher running, so all my compatible Epic, Amazon and GOG libraries are right there. And obviously Steam. It's all just there. And here's what genuinely surprised me. I didn't need to hack my way throughout. Didn't need to learn arcane terminal commands. Didn't need to compile a single thing. I installed it, it worked, and I was gaming the same day. My gaming rig has now stepped into Linux alongside my daily working rig, and I'm actually thinking about switching my work machine from Debian Ubuntu over to Arch-based CachyOS, plus there's elements to it that could seriously improve my workflow. That's how good it's been. And for anyone listening who's thinking about making this jump, here's my honest recommendation. If you're scared cause you're too used to Windows by now, try the Cinnamon version of CachyOS. It's got that classic Windows 7 feel to it. Clean, familiar, comfortable. Or if you want proper Windows 10 experience, go UKUI. Trust me, either one looks gorgeous. Both are easy to install, and both run beautifully on new and old machines. You don't need to be a terminal wizard. You don't need a computer science degree. You just need to stop listening to people who haven't tried it since 2015. But I will say this, and I mean it. If you get to a point where you need help, first rule, and this is just common sense, check official documentation for whatever distro you've chosen. That's always your first stop. No exceptions. You need more help after that? Do not trust some random Reddit post, especially one from 2012. Look at dates. If it's older than a year or two, look elsewhere before you try out it suggests. And look, I know a lot of people hate AI, but hear me out on this one. Try it. Tell it to find latest info for your specific distro and to guide you step by step through whatever you're trying to do. That way, if you hit an error message or something breaks along the way, you can feed it straight back and it'll guide you to fix it before you cause more damage by panicking and running 6 different commands from 6 different forum posts from 6 different decades. Trust me on that. You might not like AI for a lot of things, but it has its uses. That's exactly why I got my son using it, because I got tired of being his personal tech support line. 21 years old and still needs his dad to sort out basics. Not anymore, mate. Ask ChatGPT. So, to Joseph Teller and everyone else sat in comments section repeating this stuff, I get it. I understand where fear comes from. 5 years ago, a lot of these concerns were legitimate, but it's 2026 now. Landscape's changed so dramatically that if you hadn't looked at Linux gaming in the last 2 years, generally don't know what you're talking about anymore. Over 80 of Steam's top 100 games work on Linux. Proton compatibility is approaching 90% across entire Steam library. And games that refuse to support Linux are almost exclusively published by companies demanding kernel-level access to your machine, run software that don't even stop cheaters. Go look at ProtonDB. Or look at Gaming on Linux's anti-cheat tracker. Actually try it before you write it off based on what happened to someone's mate in 2019. And if you like this video, YouTube says you'll like this and next. So go check that out, and I'll see you there, you magnificent.